Hey, great Friday evening. It is a beautiful evening, a beautiful day in the city of Brownsville. Hey, Kenina, good evening. How's it going? Hey, Paul, my man, you clicked it right on time, bro. It is a beautiful evening in the city of Brownsville, despite the fact that it was a very hot day. I mean, it was just amazingly hot. Actually, this morning I thought it was going to because I saw a couple clouds out there, and I thought like, well, maybe it's going to be a nice cool Friday, but it sure as heck was very hot. Good evening, Leah. Say it to Josh for me. Good Friday evening, guys. Pizza night. Oh, I love pizza. I actually was considering having pizza, and I passed right in front of the Pizza Hut, but I wanted to have some fish, so I went to Whataburger for a water catch with cheese, no bread, because low carb. Hey, Juan M. Sancillos. Good evening, Mr. Lerma. Good to see you. Good Friday, guys. Manny, God bless my man. Hey, Ade, hermosísima. Hello, more preciosa. Y ando, ya tan temprano, casi ni son la hora, compa. Good evening a los más guapos. Gracias, María. Es cierto. Good evening, primo. Love you, man. Good evening, Eduardo. Thank you for calling us, gentlemen. Hey, Frank. Hey, Al. How's it going? Are we drinking strawberry daiquiris on turtles today in South America? He's out in the Galapagos. Buenas noches, Ana Delia Hermosa. More. Andamos bien, gracias a Dios. Con un poquitito de sueño. Buenas, Jesús Becky. Cindy Hermosa. Sup, Benny. Hey, Benny, did they ever pick up your trash? I think y'all's commissioners are trash. Hey, my man, how you doing, Jose? God bless you, bro. Good to see you, Papa.
Too soon, Erasmo, too soon.
Good evening, Jennifer. Good evening, Claudia. Good evening, Papa Chomp. Chomp, you didn't go pick up the cookies. Hello, Janet Hermosa, ¿cómo estás? Good evening, guapos. Oh, thank you, Leda. You're right. Good evening, Tess. Good noches, Frankie. César, ¿cómo estás? Jimmy! Hey,
What about me, Jimmy?
Jimmy, congratulations, Jimmy. Hey, man, let me tell you.
That's leadership right there.
That's leadership, bro. I'm not joking, guys. This is my man, Jimmy. Jimmy is the president of the PI Board of Trustees. Let me tell you, bro. You know, I always call it like it is. Jimmy and I, sometimes we have our fights, but, you know, sometimes we praise each other. Let me tell you, that's called leadership. And we're going to talk about what Jimmy and the amazing board of trustees out at Port Isabel did today for our community of Port Isabel. And, you know, our community matters. Community matters, Jimmy. And hats off to you, bro. Really. You know, it's very comforting to see elected officials who take the concerns of their constituents and make them their own, you know. And it's not a political ploy, unlike some individuals that we'll talk about later on tonight. But, you know, it's because y'all truly care and y'all have an amazing superintendent, man. Ms. Alarcon is amazing. Pital Asado, repito, Pital Asado. Jimmy, hats off, man. Love you. Maggie, hermosa, ¿cómo estás? Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Hello, my man. Que rollo, Chip. Hey, Chip. What happened to my picture, Chip? I actually liked when you had my picture on your profile thing. Bro.
Walter Amor.
Good evening, Olguita hermosa, ¿cómo estás? Thank God it is Friday. Let me tell you, it's been a week. Good evening. I have the snacks ready. Oink. Good evening, guys. Normita hermosa. Good evening, Luz. How's it going? Buenas noches, Belinda hermosa. My man. This is my new trainer right here. This is my man. I love him. Buenas noches, Esparza. Hola, Hilda. Laura Pérez, ¿cómo estás? Hermosa, Normita. And Jessica. Thank you so much. Hey, Jessica, I received a yellow envelope. Thank you, mi amor. Just passed a resolution to begin online classes. Look at this guy. This, folks, right here. This, look. Take notice, folks. This is leadership right here. This is what I was talking about. This is leadership. This is being aware of the fear and uncertainty that staff have, that parents have, and take it upon oneself to say, no, this is what we're going to do because we care about our community. This here This here is leadership right here, guys. And y'all know I call it like it is, guys. This is leadership. And he hasn't taken me to breakfast yet either. Jimmy, you gotta take him to breakfast, Jimmy. Love you, Jimmy. Amazing stuff happening in Puerto Rico, guys. Hello, good evening.
Erasmo, if I could very quickly offer our condolences to our friend Rudy Garcia. His mother passed away not too long ago. So Swaswa himself, we love you, man. We're here for you if you ever need anything. Our condolences, and we know you're grieving. So shouts out to you and your family, man. May God bless you, and thanks for everything that you do, man.
I actually had the opportunity to reach out to Rudy today. Rudy, I love you. And, guys, we need like 2-3 shows all put together, guys, to give condolences to everyone out there that has lost a loved one. Let's stop and think of this for a minute. 2-3 weeks back, a lot of people that are here tonight, were out there saying, no pasa nada, no pasa nada. Now, things have changed because now it's starting to hit close to home. And we all have loved ones that are affected, everyone. So it's not a Wuhan disease. It's not a New York disease. It is a Brownsville, Texas disease. It is here. It is hitting us. It is affecting us. And if y'all remember, guys, we spoke about this some time back. We talked about, we were comparing it to cancer. And you know how cancer throughout the world has affected everyone in some way, shape, or form, and we talked about it, how the coronavirus was going to get to that point where it will affect everyone in the world. And some, like my friend Rudy, a lot harsher, because they're actually losing loved ones. My friend and your friend, I love the man, Joe Valdez, amazing teacher, guys. Ran for school board, amazing teacher. Porter, our Porter teacher, very ill. And he reached out to me, he asked for prayers. And again, guys, if we were going to mention everyone that's asking for prayers, everyone that has lost loved ones, no acabaríamos, guys. I hear someone knocking on the door. Hey, my man, Ruben Cortez. Sir, how you doing, sir? Mr. Cortez. State Board of Education trustee, commissioner, State of Texas Board of Education, Ruben Cortez. How you doing, sir? Can you hear me?
How are you guys?
Doing good.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you. See you here. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good job. Hey, Mr. Cortez, one of the things that we were just talking about.
I'm doing good, brother. Sorry, I had connectivity issues.
Oh, it's okay, guys. And that's something that we're going to talk about, Mr. Cortez. We're actually going to talk about connectivity issues, and we're going to talk about the new reality that we're all living in. But first of all, before going into the nitty gritty, sir, we have a lot of individuals out there. I know you've seen them on your news feed. Many individuals. We're starting to lose loved ones, individuals, their mothers, their fathers, their tias, their abuelitos, are dying. And not only that, our hospitals are jam packed. ICU, we need more beds. We need more this. We need more that. Sir, what can you tell us about what's going on with our community? Mr. Cortez?
Well, I'm getting a lot of interference, Erasmo. I don't know if it's on my end or on your end. Do you mind asking me the question again, or?
Yeah, we have a lot of individuals.
Hang on 1 second. Hang on. Let me do something and get my internet fixed a little better.
Go. We can go on and go on. Right now, guys, again, while Mr. Cortez is out there taking care of his connectivity issues, again, guys, it's affecting everyone out there. One of the things that I did have the opportunity today to speak with the city of Brownsville, the leadership in the city of Brownsville, and the city of Brownsville is also very, very concerned. I did speak with the county, and the county health department also reached out to me and let me know that they have those trailers there, refrigerated trailers, and they're being used. They're out there, they're being used, and it's very, very unfortunate because a lot of the scenes that we were monitoring or seeing that were happening throughout the world in Italy, in Spain, in South and Central America, are part of what we're doing now. Mr. Cortez, how's the Rona affected our community, sir? Maybe not. Aurora, ¿cómo estás, Aurora? Let me know when you're ready, Mr. Cortez.
Erasmo, we got a busy Friday. BISD did issue out a press release stating that they are working towards reaching out to the county judge, which we applaud them for finally taking some action.
I don't.
And I believe that there was some mention that they are going to be having an emergency board meeting. It's unfortunate that it took other school districts to take the initiative. It's about being proactive. Life is all about taking action. Whenever we wait until somebody does something, it doesn't always go well. People in leadership should take that initiative. Just to get ahead of things. But we see that the district has been proactive in this approach, for whatever reason. But it's everybody's safety. That's what is at stake. So I would have wished that they would have been more assertive in this issue because it affects all of our community.
How are we doing, Mr. Cortez?
So guys, I'm gonna jump in. I am having a really, really difficult time. There's between your all's conversation, I lose every other word that you guys are saying. But I do want to weigh in. When you guys invited me, I guess you invited me as a result of a letter I wrote to the governor and to the commissioner of education. As you know, Erasmo, as somebody who has served on a school board, before, you understand the challenges of ensuring that we have an educated population, right? I mean, it's critical. We can't let this global pandemic define what happens to our students in this 2021 academic school year. And as a parent of students in the public school system, as someone who's married to an educator and somebody who has relatives who work in the public school system, and as you know, as someone who has been on the policy-making end of serving on local school board, the regional board, and now the Board of Education for the state of Texas, I take these responsibilities very, very, very serious. And I've supported the Commissioner of Education and his response to COVID-19 from when we had the longest senior skip day that just keeps on going. But a couple weeks ago, he made the announcement of how they were going to go in terms of opening up schools. And all he talked about was funding. If you want to get funded as a school district, you've got two methods you can use in order to get that funding. You have a synchronous method or an asynchronous method. And one of them requires all online instruction. One of them is a combination of in school and online, but online live. You can't give Frankie work for the week and Frankie turns it in Friday and it's considered complete. He's got to have class assignments. Like, they went through all these steps, right? But I kept waiting to hear, when is he going to talk about the thing that moms and dads are most concerned with, that education community, everybody that works in the education community world are concerned about as well, the safety of themselves and the over 5.4 million children in Texas public schools. But he never addressed it. And so for him, it was about, okay, how do we continue to fund you, right? And for me, that's just the worst approach. And I understand money is necessary in running an educational system, but we want our next generation of Texans to be around to enjoy this life, you
Amen.
know? And so the week after he made the announcement, we had our Board of Education meeting. We were supposed to be the first state official group to have a live meeting in Austin, Texas. And that's how it started. They got permission from all the health experts. They got permission from the governor. We were supposed to meet at the Texas Education Agency to have our official Board of Education meeting the week leading up to 4th of July. They booked all of our rooms. We were supposed to go, and one of the emails that we got alerted us to the fact that we, as board members, were going to be required to wear a face covering, which I found very hypocritical, right? Because here you are not mandating that students or employees at that time wear face coverings, but you want me and every other board member and you, when you come into our boardroom, wearing a face covering. I mean, it just seemed very, very, very hypocritical. And so knowing all that and knowing what his announcement was, I just felt compelled to send a letter to both the governor and the commissioner saying, hey, if you're going to reopen schools and if you're insisting that some students be in these brick and mortar facilities across the state of Texas, you need to have at least a minimum standard for safety for everybody who works in the school community, and you have to have a minimum standard of safety for our children, for all the children in the state of Texas. And so that's what was the driving force behind the letter. You know, there's probably a few things that you guys may not be a little familiar with, but in that call, in that Zoom meeting with the commissioner, when he made the announcement of synchronous and asynchronous, the processes on how a school gets funded, that was his whole spiel. He went and shared some data with us that, as somebody who represents the Board of Education District 2, which happens to be the poorest district, not only in Texas, but in the country. We have the lowest economically disadvantaged populations in the entire state, right? And for me, there's nothing more important than the safety of those people who work with our kids and our students. Right. That should have been the number one pillar on this idea of what we do when we open schools, right? But instead, he talks about funding. But when he talks about funding, Erasmo and Frankie, he starts to share with us some national data that they've taken from an online coursework system called Zern. And it talks about what transpired from March 15th through May 15th. And as you know, after mid-March is when they shut all schools down, right? And they break it down for you in 3 categories. They talk about your low-income children. They talk about your middle-income students also. And they talk about your high-income students. And so he presents this graph, and I have it. I wish I can share it with you guys, but I'll send it to you after, and maybe you can share it later. But it talks about how these different demographics of students are being impacted adversely by what's happening with COVID-19. And low-income children are being impacted a negative 55.6%. Middle-income children are being impacted 34.2%. But in the higher income brackets, those high income household students, they saw an increase of 4.8%, not a decrease, an increase. And as he's talking about this funding model, what was taking me back and just at that point, I didn't know what to do. And this is a problem that unfortunately was created by not only the governor, but the state legislature, because they have made Commissioner Mike Morath the most powerful commissioner in modern history.
Crazy.
And so he starts telling everybody on the call, and we had every superintendent on the state of Texas. We had legislators, we had the chair of House Public Ed, we had the chair of Senate Education, we had many legislators on the call. There was about 3,000 of us on these weekly calls, but this was the largest because of the announcement. And he tells us that to get funding, and I'm just going to use Brownsville as an example, right? Because you guys are here in Brownsville. If Brownsville is going to get 100% ADA for their funding for schools, in the first 6 weeks, they get 100% regardless of the number of students that attend our schools. But in the third 6 weeks, you have to hit a minimum attendance threshold of 90%. If you hit 90%, you get funded at 100% level.
Right.
So what does that mean? That if you hit 85%, you're at 95%. If you hit 80%, you're at 90%. If you're at 75%, you're at 85% funding level. If the data that he's sharing with us shows us that under this COVID environment, we have 55.6% of our economically disadvantaged students statewide being adversely affected by COVID, and 34.2% of our students from the middle income households being adversely affected, and students of upper income brackets are seeing gains of 4.8. Who's going to be left out if the threshold for you as a school system to get 100% financing for public education, if your threshold is 90%?
Lower income.
It's not acceptable because they give no clear guidance, you know, and school boards all across the state are left to make these decisions on how do we find our kids, how do we get them connected. They gave no guidance to our school boards, and school boards all across the state have stepped up and done as best as they could with what they've been given, but yet still there's no assistance from the state, and we need a clear plan so that parents feel comfortable sending their kids to school, so that educators feel safe coming into our schools and teaching our kids.
Well, Mr. Cortez, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Ruben, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, my question to you is,
yeah, I can hear you.
Why did it just take them so long? You know, one of the things that we've been said, sir, is, you know, we've been watching the trends and how, you know, it's has affected the entire world. It's not something that was isolated in one place. It was something that was going throughout the world, and the trends and the scientists were telling us, get ready. The tidal wave is coming. And it seems like this governor and this education commissioner, Mike Morath, it seems like they've been dragging their feet to the point where absolutely no information was shared. There was no proactivity whatsoever. And now we're 3 weeks away from starting school. 3 weeks away. And they still don't have it down knit intact. And what took so long? Why couldn't we have started this back in March?
Because the governor was hell-bent on reopening the state of Texas. He opened it too soon. We had Mother's Day, we had Memorial Day, all these big holidays, 4th of July, all of these things happened that created all of these clusters. But if the governor had just waited a little bit longer, if they had this thing under control, if he had mandated face coverings a long time ago, we may not be in this situation that we are today. We're getting, 10,000 positives a day for the last several days running in Texas. We're seeing our highest numbers that we've ever seen. I saw an interview with one of the Valley reporters and the governor just today. When they asked him, well, what can you tell us about TEA working from home? I mean, you're asking schools to open up, but TEA is working from home. And remember, we don't have control over the commissioner of education, guys. We can give him advice, but he's not required to take this advice from us because the legislature made sure of that. He's appointed by the governor. He's only responsible to answer to the governor. It is imperative that we put enough pressure on state leadership to kind of pump the brakes on what they're doing.
Yes.
Parents are already given the option. They can either send their kid or do online instruction. That's the choice that they're going to make. But the choice that they've given to the school district is, do we do the synchronous method or do we do the asynchronous method? Do we do full online or do we do a combination of in-class and online?
Well,
And that's what they've allowed at the local level for the school district, for the superintendent, and
well, Mr. Cortez,
yes.
and just to share with you,
yes.
I wasn't. We're all.
Erasmo?
Can you hear me?
Were you going to ask me something?
Yes, we're all concerned about our students. We're all concerned about our students. But ultimately, the students, the parents have basically already decided, if our students have to go back onto campus, we are not going to send them. That wasn't much of an issue. A lot of the parents have already said, if they're going to force our students to go to campus, we will not send them. So again, it's great that they're going to be given the option. The problem, Mr. Cortez, is what Andrea is expressing, because what Andrea is expressing is the same thing that thousands upon thousands of teachers are expressing. I know you've heard it. Your family's in education, sir. I'm a teacher, and I do not feel comfortable going back with students. We can't even meet in person for faculty meetings, yet districts want to have 100+ kids coming in 2 days intervals of school, yet they all eat in class, no mask when they eat, all exposed. Sir, we need to have distant learning until January. And this, Mr. Cortez, is the fear of thousands of teachers out there, thousands of them. They feel that no one is listening.
And I've spoken with probably every education association and union in Texas. We've had these same discussions. The letter that I wrote, that I sent to the governor and the commissioner, before I send it off, I got the input of two of the largest teachers unions in the state of Texas. I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page because we share the same concern. Safety should be the most important thing. And that's not what they've prioritized. And you and I know that we can't just stop educating our kids. They need to receive an education. And the commissioner could have easily said, you know what, we're going to go to a virtual method. We're going to go to a full online for the first month, first 2 months, for the first half year. But he didn't, because you have a president who wants to reopen schools, who's already modified the CDC guidelines. You have a governor who's falling in line with what the president wants. And you have a commissioner of education who's only accountable to the man who appointed him, which is the governor. So it's going to take a lot more than a letter from a member from the Board of Education. It's going to take all of us standing side by side and making our voices heard. I've already been hearing from some of the larger education groups that there's been talks of a walkout or a strike of some sort because they don't believe that their voices are being heard. And we cannot allow this public health crisis to become a generational education crisis for our kids. But at the same time, families want to be safe. feel safe if they send their kids back. Educators want to feel that they're working in an environment where they're safe if they're coming back in. I know a lot of hardworking educators who are anxious about this school year, but are also afraid because they have diabetes or hypertension
Yes.
or some underlying uh, pre-existing condition that causes them to fear for their safety going in and coming back to work. And so I absolutely understand and I empathize with them, which is why I've taken the position that I've taken uh, with with uh, with the commissioner and with and they've said uh, all they care about is that the students get 75,600 instructional minutes. How they get them is up to you, but they're giving no guidance. They're putting everything on the shoulders of the superintendents, the administrative teams, and the school board of trustees. And there is no common methodology being used statewide, and that becomes very, very difficult.
Well, Mr. Cortez, one of the things that we have to understand, I guess, that we understand is that, the situation in Brownsville, Texas.
So, I mean, I don't know what the right answer is, but,
yeah. But the situation here in Brownsville, Texas is not the same as the situation in Odessa, Texas, when they've only had 12 individuals test positive. It varies. So, it's very understandable for a district out there in the Midwest part of the state of Texas, for them to open up a little bit quicker and to have like face-to-face education. The thing is that here in the city of Brownsville, and I would dare say throughout Hidalgo County and Cameron County, we're in trouble. Our numbers are not good. Hidalgo County presented 1,278 just yesterday, and that's not counting the 5,000 people that were tested. Also, they are expected to produce another 15, maybe 1,600 today. And again, that is still not counting the 5,000 people that were tested on Wednesday, and then again today, Thursday, and then again today, Friday. Sir, people just want a little bit of proactivity. And our concern is, look, Port Isabel just threw out a resolution today. They are going to have 100% individuals work from home. They passed a resolution, which is, I think, leadership. They're taking a step. We've learned about Mission, who has basically stated that they will not be going back to the classroom, at least for the first 6 weeks. I think Laredo has done the same. Why isn't Brownsville doing the same thing? Why isn't Los Fresnos doing the same thing? Why isn't Harlingen doing the same thing?
Because the state has given no guidance. They have left every school district to be an island in and of themselves, to make their own local decisions, to have their own local autonomy. It's like I mentioned to you before, they've given two methods. One of them is called Method A. It's the synchronous instruction. It requires all participants to be present at the same time virtually.
Perfect.
Right? And some districts are opting for that full virtual process, and that's called Method A. That's called synchronous instruction. So if you want to get funding, this is how you do it. It's going to be a live interactive class with your students, your teachers, participating in real time with teacher-supported work time on video conference calls or scheduled timed tests. This
Perfect.
is what TEA has put out on Method A. On Method B, it's called asynchronous instruction.
Yes.
It doesn't require all participants to be virtually present at the same time. And some of these examples are self-paced online courses, intermittent instruction, pre-assigned work, similar to what we had during the COVID-19.
Yeah. So what you're saying,
you can't mix both methods. You have to pick one or the other in order to get funding.
Great.
The state isn't giving our schools flexibility.
No, and I understand that, but that's great, and I appreciate you saying that. So right now, what the TEA, what the state have said is, guys, you're on your own. You decide. what TEA and the state have said is, superintendent's district, y'all are on your own. Do something. You choose. The issue that we have, sir, is that Port Isabel has chosen. Port Isabel has chosen and has given out a resolution today and a plan. Mission has chosen, and they've said this is the path that we're going to take. Laredo has gone out and said this is the path that we're going to take. The issue is Brownsville, Los Fresnos, I would dare say, and even Harlingen, teachers don't know what's going to happen. They have absolutely no clue what to plan for. They have nothing. Our superintendent is on the Galapagos riding turtles back and forth on the island, sipping strawberry daiquiris. And our teachers are going back in 2-3 weeks, and they still don't know what to do, sir. So it ultimately rides on the district's shoulders. Is that correct?
It all rests squarely on the shoulders of the local leadership.
Yes. 100%.
They have not given the guidance or the support that they need. I mean, and there's a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, some kids are going to have to come back. Who's going to take care of the students of the first responders, right? But then they don't give guidance. They don't give guidance on how the daily sanitizing is going to take place in these schools.
Because it depends.
They don't talk about what happens if somebody does come back and somebody gets infected. The commissioner said, well, there's a protocol. They'll shut the campus down they'll shut portion of the campus down for 2 days. Shut it down for 2 days and then clean it and send everybody back to the school. But what happens after those 2 days? More and more families start to feel unsafe about sending their kids back once that campus has tested positive one. And how do we stop that? We can't.
One thing,
the state needs to do a better job of giving support to local school districts. I know Brownsville has a school board meeting next week. I'm hoping that they make an announcement on what they're going to be doing at their board meeting. Have you heard? I've not heard. But I know there's a board meeting next week.
On Monday. It came out. One of the board members made mention that they're planning to have an emergency meeting.
But we do need to make sure that every educator.
But they don't have a plan. See, that's part of our issue. The issue is that even next week, it just brings us closer and closer to the start date.
Emergency meeting? Is that what you said?
Yeah, they're having an emergency meeting.
When is that scheduled?
Supposedly, Philip Cowan made mention that it was going to be on a Monday, this coming Monday. But even then, sir, I mean, sir, goodness gracious, guys, we've been asking for them to take action weeks ago, months ago, after TEA announced the synchronicity and the choice that the districts were going to have to make. They have basically refused to take any action. So the concern of a lot of my teachers out there, and I know you get the messages, Mr. Cortez. I get the messages because we are in tune with the community. We get tons and tons of messages. The Judge Salazar was on here. She said hi to you, sir. And she's saying that she's getting the phone calls as well. We all are. And our teachers are concerned that they have nothing to go back to right now. There's no plan set in motion. There are no directives that they need to take. And the fear is that we're going to start off without actually knowing where we're supposed to go. I'm hoping there's a lot more clarity after Monday's meeting. I just doubt it. I mean, is it too far into the game to actually plan for anything? Frankie, you were going to ask something.
Yes, thank you. One thing that has been discussed, Mr. Cortez, is that obviously the community is concerned. There has been a lack of leadership at BISD. And one thing that Erasmo has been stating back since March and April has been, let's go to distant learning. Let's see what works and what doesn't work. That way, when we have our the new school year, we can anticipate of what works and what doesn't. So we have been getting a lot of slack because they've been saying, "Oh, you guys are being so negative. We have to wait on TEA. We have to wait on TEA for guidance." So, is it fair to say that by us as a district at BISD waiting on TEA did a disservice to the community, to our teachers, by not taking swift action and saying, "Hey, look, we'll wait until TEA figures out what they're going to do, but BISD is going to do something, and then we'll tweak around whatever they advise us." Is that fair to say that Brownsville was doing a disservice or did not act swiftly by waiting on TEA?
So I hope I got most of your question because the audio is lagging on my end. I'll just reiterate the same point that I've been talking about from the beginning, which goes back to the letter that I sent to the governor and the conversation that I've had with the commissioner of education. It's the most important thing is to ensure that if educators and anybody that works in a school building needs to go back into a school, that they feel as safe as possible, that they take every precaution, that the state requires that every precaution be taken, that face coverings aren't only there, as the governor mentioned today, for the next month or so, as long as his executive order is in place. You want that face covering there all the time. Not just right now. The commissioner announced that under the new executive order, face coverings needed to be worn in schools. But that order can be lifted in early September. And then what? Right? I mean, we need to ensure that students, that families feel safe wanting to send their children back to school. And I can tell you we're a long way from that. I saw a picture that was posted of what was happening at the state capitol, and they already have plexiglass all around the House and Senate stations in the Texas Capitol. They don't convene until next year.
And they still got plastic glass.
Have you seen one I've not seen one plexiglass in any of the schools systems that I have visited. I have not seen the state insist that this happen at the local level. As you walk into any school front office, that plexiglass, I've not seen that put in front of a teacher station. I've not seen it put in any classroom. If you've seen the modifications that have taken on in the new classroom structure, under the CDC guidelines, you can't have 22 or 26 kids in a classroom anymore.
No.
Under these social distancing dynamics, right? Maybe you can fit 10, maybe 14. I don't know if it's going to change.
Not even 10, 14. Not even 10 or 14. Let me tell you,
Erasmo?
Not even 10 or 14. Let me reiterate something with you, sure. The issue that my teachers have is that one of the big issues that our teachers have is their days absent. A lot of them are in fear that, you've got 22 students in one classroom. 22 students in one classroom, one teacher all day long. If just one of those students, sir, comes back COVID-19, which is going to happen, they're going to infect the other 22 students plus the teacher. They're going to take this home with them, and we're going to have another big old explosion. So the only way, and I agree with Judge Salazar, and I agree with Judge Salazar, students should be starting at home. And again, guys, Secretary, Board of Education Secretary, again, sorry that we got cut off. Hopefully he'll come back on. Guys, the issue that we have right now, guys, is something that Mr. Cortez just mentioned. I mean, he made mention. They're leaving it up to the districts to decide. Why is it that as closer to we get to election season, now they seem to be wanting to take action? Mr. Cortez, how you doing? Better?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Is that better?
I'm back. My system kicked me out. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Let me tell you, Mr. Cortez.
Yes.
Now I think we're back on time together.
Yes.
The biggest concern again, sir, is that.
Sorry, I missed the last part of your question, Erasmo. I apologize.
No. I'll go real quick. The concern is the plan that they have is to send a group of
think about us. I mean, look, we're having this trouble right now. Imagine the hard time that our students are going to have.
Exactamente. But right now, the teachers' concern is for the safety and the health of our teachers and of our students. And there's two factors. The first one is we live in a region where, being Hispanic, sir, most of us, most of us have underlying conditions. Obesity has finally come out to be one of the underlying conditions where COVID-19 could ravage an individual. And let me tell you, we're pretty fat down here in this area. No offense to Frankie, but we're pretty fat down here to this area.
Hey, Scuba Fits meals.
Yeah. So it's an ongoing concern with the safety. The second concern, Mr. Cortez, that our district has not addressed is our special education students, sir. And you know that our special education students, sometimes they need extra handling, close handling in regards to restraint, in regards to feeding, and in regards to changing at times. See, that is our concern. We've had months, sir, months for our district to start to formulate a plan. They have presented, administration has presented nothing to our teachers. And that's their frustration, sir.
The problem is, part of the problem, Erasmo, is that the commissioner just announced the plan to them 2 weeks ago.
But Mr. Cortez,
they haven't had a long time to plan, because they have to follow what the state's going to allow them to do. Yeah, and this is every school board in Texas.
No,
not just our hometown, every school district. I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody. I blame this on the state of Texas. I blame this on the commissioner.
I'm going to disagree with you, sir, and this is why I'm going to disagree. Respectfully, I'm going to disagree, because one of the things that our doctors, one of the things that our doctors have told us, our scientists have told us here locally, and not only in Brownsville, in McAllen, in Hidalgo, and they've been saying, guys, we need to follow the trends, and the trends were very, very marking. And all we had to do, Mr. Cortez, was follow what was happening in Italy and in Spain, and know that it was gonna come like an avalanche. My issue, sir, is that it's like a hurricane, Mr. Cortez, a hurricane. We're in hurricane season. So you know what? I want to prepare for a hurricane. I want to make sure that we have sandbags. I want to make sure that, because there's a possibility of it coming. Our district did not prepare in any way whatsoever for the possible hurricane to come. So I understand that Mike Morath did a horrible job, and the governor has done a horrible job. But I can hold accountable my local elected officials, and they have prepared us for nothing. I would be happy if they had prepared us with something, but we have nothing. Nothing. I will fight for my niece and nephews to go to church. That's my concern. And that's my teacher's concern. And that's their frustration, that we have nothing. Nothing.
And that's fine. Be that as it may, you're entitled to have that concern. But I've seen how school boards have reacted from March through the ending of the academic year. And I've seen school boards all over Texas do so much so quickly in response to this pandemic. Then when school ended, you have a commissioner who's saying, hey, in late May, you're still going to be able to do in-person summer school. This is the guidance that the commissioner is giving. And then he says, you know what? No, we're not going to be able to. And every time that he meets with this group, because we started a 1-a-day call, we went to a 2-a-week call, and every time we were on these calls with the commissioner, he's given new guidance, new information, and new updates. It's so much for everybody to keep up with that it got to the point where school boards started to get a little more proactive about what they were doing. But at the end of the day, when you're going to reopen an entire school system in the new year, you have to find out what those new parameters are. And yeah, there are some things that you can do to prep for the different options that exist. Whether those things occurred, Erasmo, I couldn't tell you, at least here. Yeah. I couldn't say that for sure, because I not only represent Brownsville, I represent 17 counties, and I make decisions for every one of the over 800,000 employees in our Texas public schools, and every one of the over 5.4 million students. And my responsibility is to make sure that if they go back, that they're going to go back to an area of work where they feel safe. That if a family is going to send their child to school, that they feel safe. That is, for me, the most critical thing. But again, for me, from where I sit, from the perch that I'm seeing all of this, I blame the commissioner, I blame the governor, I blame the lieutenant governor, and I blame the top leadership in Austin for dragging their feet, because you have a governor who wants to open up the state like if nothing is happening, and you see him walking back some of his phased openings as a result of this spike in COVID cases. And so now you've got this unease everywhere. And just now, over the last week and a half, you see some movement from state officials saying, oh, well, let's do this or let's do that. Well, we've been dealing with this since mid-March. I've been calling superintendents since spring break started. Yes. What can I do? How can we get TEA to do something with you, for you, right? We've been there was no spring break. I was on the phone. Some of my colleagues were on the phone with their superintendents across their districts, trying to figure out what their concerns are and how we can address some of those issues, and how we can get some questions answered from TEA for our local school districts. And just now you're seeing movement on behalf of a lot of state leadership, and not that it's too late, but you can't just be a part-time leader, right? People elect you. You got to be on top of this stuff all the time, right?
Mr. Cortez, in regards to leadership, you said that you represented 17 counties. Would you agree that if leadership in Austin is not giving us guidance or can't give us the assurity of what's going to happen, that the right thing to do would be for our local leadership down in Brownsville to take action? And I'll give you a quick example. TSC, a community college, took the initiative of going distant learning. Los Fresnos, Mission, Laredo, other school districts have taken that step, not waiting on TEA, not waiting on the governor. Would you agree that if leadership in Austin is failing us, that we here locally must take action and protect our community?
Yes. Yes, I would. If there is the concern that I have heard, that you guys have heard, God knows I've received hundreds of text messages. I've gotten countless messages on Messenger from people who are they're scared. I can't tell you how many emails I've received, both to my personal and state email address, with concerns about the reopening. I mean, it's at this point, it's in the thousands of correspondence, social media messages, and text messages and emails that I have received. It's alarming, the number of people who are deeply concerned about what is going on. So yeah, if they've left it to the locals to decide, then the locals need to make a decision. But I will tell you that, and again, this is where we have to ask ourselves, how do we thread the needle, right? Because if we go to a full online, what happens to all of those non-essential employees in a school system?
Well, one of
How
the
do you keep them on payroll?
well, one of the things that
Do you lay off all the bus drivers?
no.
What
Well,
happens?
one of the
And so you have to put some thoughtful consideration in making sure that you protect your hardworking employees who have vested tens of years in some instances with your school system, with school systems all over the state. How do you protect them as well when they have families as well? And so you have to weigh all of these things, with safety being the most important issue of the day.
Well, Mr. Cortez, one of the things that we know is the ADA is not going to change. I mean, we're still going to get the money. We're still going to get the funds. That was something that was guaranteed and promised by both the governor and by Mike Morath in regards to this year's funding. So we'd still get the money for everyone out there. That wouldn't change in any way, shape, or form. What would have to change is the responsibilities of all our hardworking staff, because I think that that's one of the fears that a lot of people had, because some politicians here, some school board members had actually used it like, no, es que van a ustedes a perder el trabajo. Because I got those calls. I said, Erasmo, are we going to lose our jobs? And I said, absolutely not. The funding is going to be there as it was there last year. The money's there. So no one has to be laid off. No one will lose their job. What's going to have to switch and change is the job responsibilities and the job duties. Look, something that we mentioned is very true. You know, there are some students that cannot do distant learning. They cannot, you know, for many, many reasons. They are going to need the face-to-face, one-to-one, in a classroom type of setting, instruction period for them, especially a lot of our students that, you know, don't have access to internet, Wi-Fi, or computers, despite the fact that our district has gone out there and bought some Chromebooks. What I'm trying to say is the job descriptions and job duties of our personnel might change, have to change, because we're not going to be doing the same functions. But no one, and I want to let everyone rest assured, no one will lose their job this year. No one will lose their job this year. We want you to get your paycheck. We want you to be out there working. That's not going to be an issue. We just have to request that our leadership come up with some type of strategical plan. This is how we're going to move forward. My concern is we needed it yesterday. We are the largest district south of San Antonio. We needed it yesterday. We won't have it tomorrow. We'll have it maybe next week. And that was my concern. Any information?
Yeah, and that's a legitimate concern. I mean, you want answers. You want answers now. Families need to start planning. Yeah. The employees who work for the school system need to begin their preparations. They need to know what's going to happen at the end of summer. You got administrations already returning back to work at the end of July. I think July 27th or 28th they go back. You got all campus administrators coming back in at that time, and then educators are supposed to follow like a week after that. And so you need to already need to have these plans. But let me talk about the funding for a second. In that call, when he announced the two methodologies of funding education, he talked about method A and method B, synchronous and asynchronous. He also told every public school, hey, by the way, this CARES Act money that we got, this $1.3 billion that's supposed to go to you, and Brownsville's supposed to get, I don't know, like $19 million. Yeah. Well, you're still going to get it in your budget next year, but $19 million, but it's going to be taken away from you, and we're going to add it to your next year's budget. So it's not going to be money on top of your money. No. It's just that money. So, yes. Oh, and by the way, school district, not just Brownsville, but all school districts, you're only going to get reimbursed at 75% of your COVID expenses. Yeah. You know, and so, again, you have a state, in my opinion, who is failing teachers, failing students and making situations much more difficult so that school boards have enough time to react.
I agree with you, Mr. Cortez. But
And so I don't know. I don't know if that answers some of the.
no, and I don't
Yeah.
disagree. I don't disagree with you at all. You know, I mean, I've come out. Look, Greg Abbott is a personal friend of mine, sir. I mean, he calls. We have a conversation with each other every Saturday. He calls me every Saturday. He texts me every Friday. We're good, but I'm upset with Greg. You know, I'm upset with him, and I've shared my disapproval here publicly and to him when I've talked to him. That's not my concern. My concern is we as citizens of Brownsville, we hold our leadership accountable. We hold our school board members, our mayor, and our city accountable because they are right here. And that is why we want answers from them. The issue is we have not received the right answers. We haven't received any answers. That's the issue. But there's two things I want to ask you, sir. The first one has to do with, and I'll say the first. Is there any plan moving forward for that you've heard for our special eds, our SPED kids, our special education teachers, anything at all? That's the first one. The second one, sir, is what Crystal is asking for. Is there any way to work in some way that will not penalize my teachers out there if they opt not to return to work in regards to a termination of their contract? Because they have to terminate their contract within 45 days in order not to be penalized. And Mr. Cortez, unfortunately for us, and you've heard it, there's a lot of our teachers that do not want to come back. They do not want to come back. They're afraid for their life because, of the underlying conditions. So two things, SPEDs, our special eds, students and teachers, have we heard anything? And two, is there any way to fight the penalization in regards to termination of contract?
So on the penalization of the contract, that was one of the points on the letter I sent to the governor. I've asked him to waive Texas Education Code 21.210A for the 2021 calendar school year, which is that 45-day requirement.
Right.
They've not responded to my letter formally. I did get told off the record that they are working on a process that would facilitate that.
Awesome.
I'm hoping that he makes an announcement either next Tuesday or Thursday at one of our weekly calls that we have with him, where he gives just updates. It's not a back and forth conversation. It's just him updating us on the latest rule accommodations. And so we're hoping that he addresses that issue at the Tuesday or Thursday call of next week.
Awesome.
And as far as our special education students, the commissioner has said it needs to be business as usual. These students need to get service and they need to get served. And again, for me, as much as I understand the need to take care of this special population, we need to make sure that we do it in the safest possible way. And I don't know what the answer to that question is, but we need to do a better job. And I'll disagree with you on something. I don't think Greg Abbott's doing a good job at all.
I agree with you. I agree.
0.0. I think
we agree.
I think that you and I know. I think that you and I know that all leadership at any level, whether it's at the city council, whether it's at the school board, whether it's in Austin, that climate and culture is set by those people who are entrusted by the voters to
Amen.
make the decisions that impact the lives of everybody.
Yeah.
So in the city council, it's going to be the mayor and the city council. In a school board, it's going to be the superintendent and the school board. But that culture begins from the top of the food chain down to the bottom. And when you have a governor who's hell-bent on trying to keep business as usual, we have all kinds of problems, right? And and he's largely to blame for a lot of what is happening today.
100%. We agree.
And
We agree.
you know, if you have a call with him on Fridays, then
Saturday.
you need to tell that guy. You need to tell him to get his shit together, because this has to stop, bro. This has to stop,
bro. We agree. We agree, Mr. Cortez. Sir, let me tell you. You know, as soon as he came out with his crap, sir, I don't know if you watch these things. I've been calling him out every single day. It was a mistake. It was a mistake after another mistake after mistake. And look, you know what, Mr. Cortez, Ruben, if I may, look, Ruben. You know, he could go out there and do whatever, this and that. Once he starts affecting our children, then I'm sorry, I don't give a rat's ass who he. Sorry, rat's behind. I can't say rat's ass. Sorry, guys. Sorry, people from church. I can't say rat's ass. I don't care. I don't give a rat's behind, sir. I don't care who he is. If the guy's affecting our children and affecting our teachers, affecting our community, then pa fuera con el vato. Pa fuera. Fuera.
Mr. Cortez, recently we've been having Sylvia Atkinson be posting on Facebook lately in regards to BISD.
Yes, sir.
How is TEA handling this? Is TEA monitoring her federal trial? And do you think it would, it's a good thing that she's commenting on BISD issues when the federal judge told her to refrain and to stay away from BISD?
To my knowledge, TEA is not involved in anything that is happening with Dr. Atkinson.
No.
I had heard sometime early last year that there was some complaints filed, but that goes through a governance department. They generally don't relay any of that information to us. Right now, what she's dealing with in the court system is not something that the agency is really monitoring or looking at. As far as her weighing in on what's going on in public schools, I mean, the reality is it's no different than you and I weighing in. The judicial system will deal with whatever she's going through, and they'll make the decision on the outcome of that. And then I'm sure that somebody's gonna, depending on the outcome, somebody's gonna present that information again to the agency, and the agency may at that point take some type of action or not. But that's not something that I'm privy to, Frankie. I don't know what's going on with that front at TEA.
No, and I think
right now our focus has been centered around everything that involves COVID-19. And how we can keep our teachers safe, how we can keep our students safe, how we can keep people gainfully employed with the school system that they've worked for years and years. And so that's been the hyper focus that I've had since this pandemic began in mid-March.
Yeah, TEA is not going to get involved. I mean, that is something that is out in federal court. It's in their hands and their ball. I think right now TEA has enough on their hands in regards to dealing with starting the next year to be worried about anyone that is going through the judicial process, as is Dr. Atkinson. One of the things I think that is very, very concerning, and I think that's something that you had pioneered, or correct me if I'm wrong, was in regards to smart books, sir. That our textbooks would be transformed from going into being a book into electronic book. There was a big push and a big moment. Right now, with the way that that we're having to educate our children because of distant learning. Right now, our books. I mean, that was pioneering, sir. A little delay.
So when I first ran for the Board of Education, that was the big push that I was trying to make is how do we get kids to remove these giant textbooks from them and give them a digital device. I remember it was an article that I read in the San Francisco Chronicle. I want to say it was 2011. I read this article, and it was talking about textbooks in Texas. And it talked about the average cost of a high school textbook at that time in 2011. The average cost of a textbook in Texas was $115.
Yes.
And a digital textbook was like $22. Right? And so when I came on the board, we started pushing. How do we get more digital technology in the hands of kids? How do we get more digital books in the hands of kids? Well, I quickly find out that all the pricing structures are set by guess who? The Commissioner of Education,
Yeah.
who is appointed by guess who? The governor of Texas.
Yeah.
And you know, so I've become the publishing company's biggest critic.
Yes.
And I don't care. I don't care because the legislature wrote laws real specific years ago that say no member of the Board of Education can solicit contributions from these people. So I can care less what they say, but guess who gets lots of contributions from them? Our state leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were to do away with STAR testing in the 2021 calendar year, you know how much money we would save? Almost $100 million for 1 year.
Millions.
Put that money back in the hands of our students, in the hands of our kids.
Yes.
But the commissioner is not going to waive it because some testing company and their lobby group give a lot of money to a lot of state officials to keep them earning and generating, right? And so when I came in with this idea of trying to go all digital, trying to get devices with textbooks on these devices, what did the publishing companies do? They changed their selling of a digital version from a few bucks to a subscription version that cost almost as much as the hardcover textbook that our kids use.
Yes.
And so we need systematic change from the top of Austin to the bottom in order to accomplish what I set out to accomplish when I took office on January of 2013. And that's a fight that I'm still not ready to let go of. I believe that we will get there, but I believe that we're a long way from getting that done. But I think that our money could be much better spent doing that. At our most recent meeting, we allocated well above $2.5 billion. Our board did when we met to give to Texas Public Schools for instructional materials in the next biennium. But the problem with that money is that as much as it sounds like $2.5 billion is a lot of money, guess what? The state legislature keeps half of it to help balance the public education pot of cash. Crazy. So they only give half of that broken out over 2 years to our schools. Crazy. If they were to keep 100% of that, we can buy technology for every single child in the state of Texas.
Crazy.
But the legislature likes to keep half of the money so that they can balance their school budget, you know. And every year they keep half of it. Every year.
Yeah. And let me tell you.
And this is something we've been fighting. That's been one of the legislative priorities that the Board of Education has had since I've arrived. And we started all. We're like, hey, don't let it be 50%. Let it be 60%. Let it be 70%. But they won't budge, not even a bit. They keep it because they use it for other things to help with the general fund.
Yeah, and I remember your stance back then, sir.
So. You know, there's a lot that we're fighting over there that people aren't aware of, and a lot of this is going to require systematic change from the top down.
Yeah, well, I remember that stance back when you brought it up. I think you and
you may not hear me talk about it so often, but this is the fight that we still take on every time we have a proclamation.
Yeah, well, I've heard you talk about it. I think you and I have had conversations on it. And, you know, I was very excited, you know, when you spoke about it. I remember back in 2013 or whenever it was, 2011, I remember back then. I remember our conversations, and you know, it would have been changing. It would have been life changing, sir. If back then it would have been implemented today. Now that's being proactive. That is being proactive and seeing in the future how to better our education for our students. That is proactive, and that's what we need. We need leadership that's a little bit more proactive. I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a personal question, Mr. Cortez. And I'm going, me voy a atrever because you're a friend of mine, Mr. Cortez.
Well, just so you know, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a personal question.
You can ask?
Yes. And I'm going, me voy a atrever because you're a friend.
Hello?
Yes. I'm going to ask you a personal
Erasmo?
question. And this is my personal question. And I know we're a little bit of lagging, but it'll come. It'll come. Sir, will you be sending your children to school August the 11th on campus?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I need to be, as a parent, I also need to feel safe that my kids are going to be in a safe environment.
Amen.
And until I know what the official plan is by the district, my wife and I won't make that decision.
Amen.
And there's a lot of families in the same situation that we're in. My daughter brought it up 3 days ago. My daughter brought it up to me, and she's like, "I'm so excited. It's gonna be my senior year." And I said, "Mijita, don't be so quick to decide that you're gonna go back, because I'm sorry that, I'm glad that it's your senior year." I said, "But if things don't look safe, I'd rather you miss out your senior year and have the rest of your life to talk about how you missed your senior year."
Amen.
Than for me to put you in a situation where you can possibly get ill or worse. I said, and until we know as parents, until we feel that safety and level, we're not prepared to make that decision just yet.
Amen.
And that's why I understand where you're coming from, where people need to know, right? And that plan needs to come out sooner rather than later.
Amen.
It does need to come out, but I will give you a little bit of good news. It took me 5 years to get Mexican American Studies approved.
Yeah.
We were the only board of education to this Mexican American Studies. It may take me a decade or longer to get digital textbooks in the hands of every child, but it's not a dream I'm ready to let go of. We're going to make that a reality also.
Good job.
Because I believe that we need to bring our children into the 22nd century.
Amen.
As you're aware, our young people today, they're not digital learners like you and I. They're digital natives, right? I mean, they literally hold a supercomputer in the palm of their hands, right? They hold a supercomputer in the palm of their hands. And if we can empower them with everything on technology, or tablets or laptops, and figure out how we can do it on a state resource without letting these publishing companies make billions of dollars off of what we do. Because every time that Texas approves a textbook that we adopt on our board, that book gets sold to 23 other states in the nation.
Amen.
So they're making a lot of money, and so they put a lot of pressure on state leadership by way of lobbyists and political contributions, so that they can keep the prices at a certain way to continue to overcharge, in my opinion, our public schools.
Mr. Cortez, what's your message to the teachers? We've heard a lot of them have anxiety, that they've sought help for depression. Many of them have, low immune systems or have underlying conditions. What's your message to the teachers who have yet to receive guidance from BISD, and there is still no safety plan in place? What's your message to the teachers for this coming year?
My message is that, at least on my end, I'm going to continue to fight and advocate for you and for every child, not just those in Brownsville, not just my own in my home, but every single student, every single employee of Texas schools. I'm going to continue to be a pain in the ass to our commissioner and to the governor until we get some finality and some answer on how we can create the safest culture and climate and environment if they are to come into a physical building. Erasmo, creo que es bastante importante. I mean, and you got a lot of listeners who are probably wondering, where the translate button is, but necesitan saber que estamos luchando para que se sientan lo más cómodo en las escuelas, para que los mamás y los papás tengan la confianza que cuando manden a sus hijos a las escuelas, van a ir a una escuela donde se sienten seguros, que van a estar cuidados, que los maestros pueden llegar ahí, si es que van a llegar a una escuela, y tener la fe que no les va a pasar nada porque van a tomar todas las precauciones para que puedan recibir lo mejor de su educación en nuestras escuelas en el estado, no solamente en Brownsville, pero en todo el estado. Y es para mí eso es la cosa más importante que podemos hacer.
Yes.
Es darle las aseguranzas a los mamás, a los papás, a todos los empleados de las escuelas que vamos a seguir luchando para que la salud de uno sea la mejor y la más grande prioridad que tenemos en asegurar las escuelas antes que lleguen estudiantes y empleados a las escuelas.
100%. Gracias, señor Cortez.
Do you translate, bro, or I hope you translate this?
Well, we actually have a show in Spanish tomorrow on Saturdays at 3:00. So tomorrow at 3:00, we're going to be translating everything that was said tonight.
Is that
our time is almost up. Mr. Cortez, any last words for our people?
everything? Okay.
Any last words for the people?
Wear a face mask. If you go anywhere, if you go out anywhere, wear a face mask. This isn't a joke. This is a very, very, very serious thing that is happening in our city, in our state, in our country, in the world. I mean, HEB already today, again, in the San Antonio Express, issued I guess a response to shoppers to be conscious because of shortages all across the country. You've got restaurants all over the state asking you to pay with a card or with exact change because we even have a shortage in coins.
Yes.
In this country. I mean, I just want to encourage everybody to stay safe out there and let them know that while these are unusual times that we're living at, they do have some elected officials that are out there advocating for safety every day. Like I've told people when I ran the very, very first time, and it's a position that I still believe true to my heart to this day. I want what you want. As a father, I want the best for my kids, and I'm gonna fight for yours the way I do for mine. Because whatever decisions are made by any Texas policy leader in Texas is going to impact your children and my children. So I'm going to treat, the way my mom would say, todos hijos de Dios o todos hijos del diablo. Amen. And we want to make sure that everybody is treated equally, that everybody is treated fairly. I mean, it's bad enough, Erasmo, that if I take my son or my daughter out of a school in Brownsville and I move them to Austin, they're worth $1,100 more over there. Why? We've got systematic problems in this state. If I move from Austin to the Woodlands, worth another $2,600 more. That means they're worth $3,700 more than they are here in the city of Brownsville. Why is that? Why would my son be worth $3,700 more in another community? It's the same child. We get They get the same level of education, but why is he worth more over there? And so there's so many things that we need to do in education. And I know that's not the focus of this conversation today. Maybe it's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
But I just want people to know that there are some of us who are out there actively hyper-focused on how we can make education better and how we can ensure the safety of everybody in the education community, all the over 800,000 employees and every one of the 5.4 million students. So, les mando todos un fuerte abrazo and let you know that, we're praying for a safe outcome for this state, praying for all those that are ill to recover. And for those of you that have lost a loved one, we mourn with you. I know there's been a lot of fatalities from not only just Brownsville ISD, but school systems all across the state. I see it every time I turn on social media, it's just more and more bad news. So if you don't need to be out, don't go out. If you can shelter in place, shelter in place. If you go to work, cover up, use hand sanitizer, wear gloves if you have to. Take every precaution possible because there's only one of you, and you cannot be replaced.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Frankie, last words.
I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cortez. It's unfortunate that we have to reach out to somebody in your position to get guidance and leadership when we don't have it here at BISD. Thank you so much for fighting for us, for our district. The only thing that I would disagree is that we can't be blaming the President of the United States. We can't be blaming Austin. I think whenever our leaders in the higher upper level don't satisfy our needs and our desires, we should take action. Why is it that Los Fresnos, PI, Laredo, Mission, they took the initiative? They took the bull by the horns and they said, you know what? We are going to delay the start of the school year. We will go into distant learning. BISD has been reactive. They've waited on TEA. And what has TEA done? Figure it out. We don't know. We'll see. We are doing a disservice to our administration who is about to go back into school next week or so. Our teachers still don't have guidance of what to do exactly. There's no directive for our SPED students, which are our most prized possessions at the district. I just wish that leadership here was more accountable to the community. It is not until AOBE made a statement that they took the initiative of saying, oh no, we're working for you. Oh no, after we see other school districts, now we're going to act. We shouldn't look for other people for us to take action. We see death at our doorstep, and we still have yet to have a safety plan. We still have yet to have some sort of guidance from our leadership here locally. So I'm very dissatisfied with the individuals at the Glass Palace on the board because they have done a huge disservice to our community. Like I said, I hope people understand that November is coming and we will be vying for those positions with credible and viable candidates. So we ask the public to always remember how they treated us. They did not look out for our best interests. So thank you so much, Mr. Cortez, for your time and for everything that you do for us, sir. It's been a pleasure.
Guys, again, thank you, Ruben. Thank you so much for your friendship. Thank you, your family's friendship. They're very, very close to my heart. Thank you so much for being out here, and taking the questions. Nothing was prepared. And again, that's how
Frankie, they're
Go. Go.
Yeah, and thank you guys for having me, and I will just echo one statement that you made about AOBE. Your biggest advocates for public education in most cities, especially cities like Brownsville, are going to be your teacher groups. So I know the Association of Brownsville Educators, of course, is the largest organization in the city. They're about to rein in a new president. You got Veronica Borrego taking taking the reins. Her father was a longtime leader of AOBE. So they're losing one dynamic leader and they're picking up another great leader. And so anytime that you need to reach out to and get things shaken and moved, you can always go to AOBE. You can go to BEST with the Patrick Hammonds group for AFT. You got Alberto Alegria with TVEA. You got TCTA. The teachers groups are going to be the ones that can always muscle together the largest voice in our community, in our education community. And we're very fortunate in the city of Brownsville to have strong voices in all of those organizations. And so anytime that you can leverage that voice to help move the leadership a little bit in the direction that we need it to, then you're going to be on the right track. And so, I'm glad that you brought that up, Frankie. I really appreciate you gentlemen having me on. I hope I was informative. I hope I was able to answer some question, and I hope I was able to give a little bit of hope and a light at the end of the tunnel to those that are watching, that are concerned about this upcoming academic year. And rest assured that
guys, technical difficulties. Hopefully he'll come back again. Thank you, Mr. Cortez, in case you just don't come back, but thank you so much. Sorry that got cut off. Guys, guys, now is the time. I'm sorry I didn't get to all the comments. There were a lot of people on there, guys. Now is the time for us to be very, very cautious. The numbers came in for Cameron County, and they are horrible. They are horrible, guys. They are devastating numbers. And let me tell you, even these numbers on here in regards to Cameron County, these numbers are not real. These numbers are not real. These numbers basically say that we have 250 new cases in Cameron County. That is not real. It says here that Brownsville, Texas has 139 positives. Thank you. You made it back.
I keep getting kicked out. I don't know. I don't understand.
I'm glad you made it.
Anyways, I just wanted to thank you, gentlemen. You guys have a great wonderful rest of your night, and let your members know they can always find me at Ruben Cortez for Texas, and send me a messenger. They can find me on Instagram at Ruben for Texas, or Twitter at Ruben for Texas. If they have any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to get any information I can from the Texas Education Agency about some of what's going to be happening in some specific areas of public education. There's going to be a lot of questions, and we're still pushing for them not to count testing next year so that they can save that $100 million and use it for something else. But again, the commissioner likes to wait until the end to give these information for whatever reason. And that's why I mentioned all of these teachers groups, because they're going to be the loudest voice when it comes to picking up the phone and calling the governor's office, calling the lieutenant governor's office, calling our local reps and senators to get engaged in these dialogues. So, gentlemen, thank you guys very much. Have a wonderful night. God bless you guys. Whatever you all need from me, I'm just a phone call away. Both of you have my number. Con confianza. Feel free to call me. Les mando un fuerte abrazo a todos, and God bless you guys.
I appreciate you, Ruben. And again, my blessings to your family. That is my family. Very, very close to my heart. So thank you for being here. Guys, the numbers are not real. Be concerned. We have 139 for the city of Brownsville. And Mayor Mendez has put up a statement saying that we are, for the next 10 days, we should be expecting at least triple digit numbers for the city of Brownsville. That is very, very concerning. And there's no way. No one should be sending their kids onto campus. No one. I don't care. And look, guys, do not believe political talk. Understand that election is very close at hand, and now they are flip-flopping their stance. Guys, hold their feet to the fire. Hold their feet to the fire. Demand transparency. Question the reasoning why they waited so long to take any form, shape of action, guys. Do not forget. Always remember, what they have placed our community through by their uncaringness, by their stupidity, by their giving a superintendent a raise, by them saying he was doing an excellent job, and by extending his contract. So, guys, now is not the time to flounder and to fall. Now is the time to stand and to fight. Today, we stand together. I'm very, very proud. Something that someone mentioned out here, guys, and I haven't read all the comments. I'm very proud. Like a lot of teachers are saying, I will not be silent anymore. I'm done. I will not be silent anymore. Guys, we need you as vocal as possible. Be vocal. Let them know that you are fearful for your family, for your health, your well-being, and especially for the well-being of your students. Guys, have a great, great evening. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in the morning with Dr.
It's meals.
I'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock in the morning with Dr. James. Guys, stay safe. Please be good to each other. Please be good to me. Adios.